Okay, we're live.
All right, we're going to call the special meeting for Akron City Council to order. Clerk will read the roll.
Baylor.
Aye.
Connor.
Aye.
Freeman.
Aye.
Fusco.
Aye.
Holland.
Aye.
Kamer.
Aye.
Lombardo.
Aye.
McKittrick.
Aye.
Malik.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Amobian.
Aye.
Samples.
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
All members are present.
Thank you. At this time, if we can please get a motion to suspend all council rules that require legislation first be considered by committee before presentation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. All in favor, we'll do a roll call.
Baylor.
Aye.
Connor.
Aye.
Freeman.
Aye.
Fusco.
Aye.
Holland.
Aye.
Kamer.
Aye.
Lombardo.
Aye.
McKittrick.
Aye.
Malik.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Amobian.
Aye.
Samples.
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
Motion passes 13-0.
All right. So you want to read in our item?
This is offered by President Somerville and Councilwoman Holland. Resolution opposing and objecting to the renewal application of Janine R. Bradford doing business as Mature Lounge Eatery, Unit A and B, 271 South Main Street, Akron, Ohio 44308, for a Class D5 and D6 liquor permit, 4273282, now pending before the Division of Liquor Control and declaring an emergency.
Okay, thank you so much. I do believe we have our Chief Prosecutor, Gert Wilms, on to present.
I am here, and Deputy Chief Morgan will provide some information too. I would thank you all for this special meeting because of the way liquor permits renew. There's a renewal for all of Summit County October 1st. The objection has to be done 30 days prior to that. So we have a September 1st deadline. So that's why it's important that we hold this meeting to object to this permit. This is not a one and done situation for us. This is a business that we've worked with for years to try and work on a safe business model and have not had success with really changing what's happening at that location and the safety for the neighborhood, safety not only for downtown, the University of Akron, but all the businesses surrounding as well. So it is not a one and done for us. Again, this is something that's been going on for years, trying to work with this business. The last event that took place on August 14th, though, was the final straw for us. Not only we're going to pursue the objection to the liquor permit renewal, but we're not really ruling out any options with how to deal with that business or the property in the end. So Craig, I'm going to hand it over to you for some of the statistics to share with council members.
And I would just remind everyone that this resolution, if passed, triggers a local hearing with the Division of Liquor Control. It's to determine whether or not the liquor permit will be renewed. We have taken a look at the property that just within 2021, we're only 8 months in. There's been 45 calls for service at the property, various types of fights, property complaints, and incidences such as the one related to last weekend. As some of you that have been through this process with me know, like Councilman Kamer, our experience with Grant Street Tavern, with the Division of Liquor Control, sometimes it's about compounding these objections. If we object once, sometimes the state is more forgiving, but if the pattern of conduct persists for a year and we object a second time, they tend to listen to us a little bit more. So it's a good means of trying to lay a foundation here, lay a record here, and hopefully we can get some traction with the state.
Okay, thank you so much. At this time, do we have any questions or comments from any council members? I don't know, Councilwoman Holland, do you have anything?
I do. I think that where we are right now, in terms of numbers for this year is deeply concerning, not just in Ward 1 where this particular enterprise exists, but across the city. I am pleased by this action, by the willingness of council to convene this morning during recess to take this serious and certain position on this issue and on this place. And I hope that what this represents is, the strong signal it should be, that irresponsible corporate citizens will be, will be looked upon this way. This is an important measure toward assuring that public safety is our number one priority and that the citizens of Akron can count on us. So I thank you, Madam President, for pulling us together this morning, and thank you to the various law enforcement officials who are here this morning in support of this action.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Holland. Councilman Neal?
Thank you, Madam President. As Mr. Morgan has spoken, these type of establishments have come up before us pretty frequently. I know that we have to pay special attention to these. I was contacted by one of the owners of the bar yesterday who stated that he wanted to be able to share his concern. And I shared with him that, in light of everything that's going on, these type of establishments carry a special burden of responsibility. But he did say some things that made me want to question. And let me state this. I shared with him that if this was in my ward, in light of everything that was going on, I would be taking these same steps and actions. But the reality is this. There is an opportunity for us, just as we talk about creating a landlord council to address tenant-landlord issues, these establishments serve a population that will have their recreation one way or the other. And so I think it serves us this gives us an opportunity to create some type of council with these type of business owners to look at best practices of how we can reach this population that needs to be served. That being said, I know with czars, when a lot of council people went down to look at that establishment that was downtown, these establishments can do everything that they're supposed to do inside, but then when their patrons get outside, it's a different matter. So what I'd like to know is how many of the calls were by the establishment owner and how many of the calls were related to things happening inside the bar and outside of the establishment. Again, this is not to delay the action that we're taking, but it is for us to understand that just by past history that has happened at all these places could take all the steps to manage their business in-house. But when their patrons get outside of their business, it's a different matter. And I think we as a council need to look at how we can work with them to address this population, as I said, that's going to be that's going to find their recreation one way or the other. And so since we have a specific a captured audience that is the audience that is most likely to be impacted by this gun violence, how can we make the best of this situation, if that makes sense?
Thank you, Councilman Neal. I don't know if Gert, if you have answer to that question.
I do.
Councilman Neal's question.
Councilman Neal, we can definitely send you the statistics that we've asked for from the planning department at the Akron Police Department. And take a look at those to see who made the calls, where the calls came in, and how they all go back to this business. This isn't a business that's operating 7 days a week. This is a business that's kind of one and done. They have one big event a week and that's it. So we can definitely send you those statistics to look at.
I appreciate that. And when I spoke to him, I let him know, because he said he rents out his facility. And I said, well, bottom line is you have to change your business model so that those that rent your facility protect your brand and have proper security. Because he said he had a problem getting police to work. And I can understand if that's the case. But, bottom line is this. These kind of businesses that cater to that demographic, that college, young adult demographic, especially in the Black community. One, we know if they're downtown, they have a bullseye on their back. Let's just be real. And then two, I'm thinking of the one that was up at Roman Road. We need to find a way to reach that population. And I'm speaking from experience. I mean, I've thrown parties downtown with colleagues, close to 2,000 people. No incidences. But you have to know your target market, and you have to create the right type of energy in that environment. And so for us as a city, as we want to grow, we need to be working with the university and these establishments that serve this population to create the right type of culture and environment. If we don't create the framework for this, then we're leaving that to the whim. But there is an opportunity, and again, I know other promoters that have thrown events, close to 2,000 people, no fights, nothing. But you have to help them with best practice. So just as we're looking to work with our tenants and landlords to create a council that could create the right type of culture in housing, I think we need to do that with this demographic, because this population, if we're talking about growing our community, needs to be served.
Thank you so much, Councilman Neal. Councilwoman Amobian?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I have two questions. The one has to do with if this particular is dried up.
Councilwoman Amobian, I think you're going in and out.
Does it impact any other next door within that area? Well, for me, because I know we've done this a number of times. I don't know if we've been. Okay, can you now?
Yeah, we can hear you better now.
Okay,
we can hear you
thank
better now.
Did you hear my first question? Do I need to repeat
No,
it?
can you repeat it?
Okay, my first question has to do with if we dry up this establishment, does it impact any other establishment nearby? I know we had the unfortunate experience of voting once in around the Tangiers area, and it would impact the Tangiers, but I think that was a different situation. Secondly, the other question is that I know we've done this a number of times in terms of voting to ask the Liquor Commission to not approve somebody's license. And I don't know if we've ever heard, if we've been successful in any of those. Could Gert give us some kind of report on what our track record looks like when we notify these people in Columbus? Because I don't know how seriously they take these and if we've been successful at closing anybody down in terms of taking their liquor license away. Thank you.
And Councilwoman Amobian, I can speak more to both of those issues. First, this isn't a precinct-wide drying up, so it will not impact any other businesses in the area. This is just a specific objection to the liquor permit held by the individual that operates that establishment. Number two, I will tell you that our track record is good. I will tell you the Division of Liquor Control, as I mentioned earlier, sometimes looks for the compounding effect. So if you're having an issue with an establishment and you object once, they like to watch and see what the pattern is. In other words, does the business model improve? And if it doesn't improve and if it deteriorates over the course of another year, the Liquor Control Commission tends to take that very seriously when we object to the subsequent year, and we tend to be successful on those. What tends to get the attention of the state is violence. It is shooting. Okay, I can't state that any other way. They tend to be a little bit more relaxed with the noise complaints or types of things that are considered more of a nuisance. But you can have a lot of traction with the Division of Liquor Control when you have extreme issues going on in an establishment.
And just so council.
Thank you very much.
Madam President, if I can.
Absolutely.
We have filed and did file last year on a couple, and we had yet to have a hearing on what we filed for last year's renewal. So just transparency, the state is running substantially behind with some of the COVID shutdowns and the COVID enforcement that they were doing. These renewal objections have really taken a back seat. So the hearing will not happen immediately. It's just we get it in and they ultimately set the calendar.
Thank you so much.
And I would mention, to alleviate everyone's concern, they take a great deal of time to look at this. Not only do you have the hearing at the local level, but ultimately it goes all the way up to the Liquor Control Commission, which is a three individual panel down in Columbus. So there's actually a two-tiered process that examines the appropriateness of our objection before they actually deny one.
Councilman Malik.
Thank you, Madam President. I guess to start, just a couple of questions for the prosecutor's office. Thank you for bringing this before us. First, it sounds like with what you just mentioned, Prosecutor Wilms, that this would not necessarily lead to revocation of the permit until probably sometime in 2022, if not later. Is that right?
That would be my best guess.
Okay. And then, are there other options or steps that can be taken, like criminal nuisance enforcement, to try to alleviate the concern here?
Yeah, and we have not ruled out pursuing any of the other options. The criminal nuisance activity, not necessarily, but maybe the civil nuisance action. We have already met with property owner. We did that back in 2020 to put them on notice for a previous shooting at the same location and explain to them that ultimately a decision could be made to go to the common pleas courts, file an injunction to actually have the place padlocked before a long-term solution is provided by the court. And again, we are pursuing every avenue to look to see what's appropriate for the safety of that particular area.
Okay, thank you. And I guess just as a comment, echoing, I think, what Councilwoman Holland said, the shooting that happened is disturbing, as part of a disturbing trend. I think it reflected a lot of the different issues we've seen with other aspects of violence in terms of youth being involved, problem establishment, and also concerns about, you have an establishment, there's the possibility of having officers working security or check-in patrols, and concerns about adequate staffing there. So I hope these are all things, as we head into the fall, that we can engage in discussion with Chief Milet, with the administration about, because obviously it's kind of a symptom of what we all know is a broader problem.
Thank you so much, Councilman Malik. Councilman Lombardo.
Thank you, Madam President. I guess I have another question for the prosecutor's office, and that is that Mr. Morgan mentioned that there was 45 incidents or 45 charges, something like that. But correct me if I'm wrong, that doesn't mean that the police were called 45 separate times, because one would think, isn't like after 5 times enough of a problem? But
No.
tell me that when the police show up, there could be multiple charges or incidents with that one call, right? So there could be
Sure.
45 incidents again, but it's maybe 5 or 8 calls that related to 45 charges.
Yes, please, and I can clarify, Councilman Lombardo. That's an
Thank
excellent question. What we provide to the liquor control is calls for service. In other words, not just specific. Some of those calls for service are a fight or theft or a noise complaint. A lot of those calls for service also are check-in patrols, in which the officers are just making sure that they're moving through the property and examining it. So, yeah, what it represents to the Liquor Control Commission is the volume and the proportionality of the services that are being consumed by a particular establishment. In other words, as Gertrude mentioned earlier, the business model of this establishment is they may be open for 2 days a week. We have bars in Akron that are open Monday through Sunday that don't generate a single call for service in a week. So it's a representation of what amount of resources are being consumed by a particular establishment. And that's what the Liquor Control Commission takes into account, is what is this establishment consuming versus other establishments similarly situated.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Malik?
Thank you. Just following up on Councilman Lombardo's question, just to clarify, it is 45 separate calls for service, correct? And I guess just to further drill down, if you took out the check-in patrols, how many would it be for 2021?
I would probably say something closer to 30, 35, somewhere in between there. There's still plenty of there's still plenty of calls for service that aren't just the police, checking on the property, if that's what you're referring to. Yes.
Sure, but that, just to want to clarify, that is a significant number of calls for service for any establishment in 8 months.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Malik. I do see Councilman Fusco.
Thank you, President Somerville. My question is for Mr. Morgan or Ms. Wilms, in terms of what we're seeing more and more, I believe, not only in businesses that used to be bars or are bars, whereas people are coming in and having these one-day events or twice a week or something like that. And are they like subletting to other folks their liquor license? How is this working? And I'm just wondering if legislatively, if there's something that we could look at from that side of it. It seems as though you're hearing more and more of these type of situations where, one big party, one night a week or what have you. And even in some remote locations from time to time. So how, is there anything that we could pursue or discuss? Perhaps not today, obviously, because we are, we're here for one thing, but I think perhaps in the future we should discuss this if there is a path.
Councilman, I don't think at this particular location we have them subleasing their liquor permit. They do absolutely rent it out for private events, but it would be like me having a birthday party and then I can limit who comes in, but they still run the show, and they're the ones actually providing the staff, the security, all of that, but it's just a private event. So they're still maintaining control over their liquor permit. Is that happening at some of the other larger venues? Absolutely. People rent a hall and then charge everybody $50 to come in, and it's open bar. So they are skirting the liquor laws 100% in some other locations in the city, and we are aware of that.
Yeah, that may be worth a discussion, perhaps. I'm more than happy to pursue that, perhaps with Representative Kamer or others, in terms of, talking with the Ohio Liquor Control Board, because I know that they're very active out there. And perhaps legislatively, we could look at that path. Just a recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Fusco. Councilman Neal?
Thank you. To Councilman Fusco's point, and to create synergy between what we do on the residential side to the commercial side, I know if we have 45 calls of service to a residential unit, we attach the cost of those calls to the property. Meaning if it's a sergeant and 2 officers, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we charge them for that, for those that have to come out of that call. Excuse me, I thought we just had that same standard for commercial establishments, meaning if we have to, I see my colleague Councilman Freeman shaking his head. So if we don't, I just want to put a bullet, like Councilman Fusco said, we can't discuss it right now, but as we look at forming best practices, we need to create that same type of synergy where if after so many calls to a commercial establishment, we attach the cost associated with those calls to that establishment.
Thank you, Councilman Neal. Councilwoman Holland?
Thank you. I'm just going to tag on to what Councilman Neal and Councilman Fusco both mentioned. The schematics for regulating how liquor sales happen and how bars and taverns operate is about responsibility. There is a reason for licensure and regulation of these enterprises. And it's about responsibility. It's about measured behavior, because the understanding is that it cannot and should not be unbridled. So I would echo this interest in drilling down deeper in exactly this. And this is not about, prohibiting the sales or consumption of alcohol, but let's face it here. We would take concern with 45 calls for service as Councilman Neal points out, of private residents. But we all know and understand that the whole regulatory, schematic of bars, represents the concern that this is that much more serious when we are talking about a place of public accommodation that serves alcohol and that has an established history of problems. May I just add further that this is a place that is located directly across from our ballpark in downtown Akron. The centerpiece of our rejuvenation, of our, redevelopment of a beautiful center of our city. So, that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Are there any additional comments or questions at this time?
Motion.
See, so we have a motion to approve. Can we have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Taylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Hamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Samples,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
The resolution passes 13-0.
Okay, thank you so much. This concludes our special meeting. Can we get a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
This
you.
concludes the live broadcast of Akron City Council. Margot Somerville, President of Council presiding.